So yes, my name is Kata, and I am an associate professor at the Budapest Business School. And I'm very interested previously I've worked at several US institutions. The latest was the Georgia Institute of Technology. And there I was very interested in inclusive teaching. And so I work as an education developer here as well as in the US. And so I'm the pedagogical part of our partnership here, and I will be responsible for a little immersion experience that I hope to. Here we go. I hope you will all enjoy. Ágnes?
Yes, and we will also try to be as inclusive as possible to narrate. If you have any questions, please, or any access needs, please let us know in the chat. So my name is Ágnes. I'm from the Eötvös Lóránd University, and I'm focusing on the universal design approach in higher education. This is also my research area, but my PhD thesis was specifically on people with disabilities, but we will share with Kata that we are thinking about inclusion very holistically, so not only just one target group. And I will start with the first slide. This is our outline, so a little bit of theory. Then Kata will take over regarding the immersion experience, and then we will debrief on the design of an inclusive and teaching and learning environment. Then we will share with you a couple of good practices. Before that, we will share that what is the future brings, or what is the future is ahead of us. And then we will leave you with some good practices and strategies that you can check out and maybe incorporate in your university practices. And then we will go with the resources. So I wanted to bring to all of you a visual description of the types of support provision. I use this word because it explains that how different people are supported in higher education. And I will also explain the pictures by narrating it, so it will be also possibly accessible. So we are seeing a picture of like a soccer field where people are playing. And on the first picture, we see three people, different sizes and different shapes of the people standing next to each other. And the first person is a taller one, the second person is a shorter one, and the smallest person is next to them. And in front of them, there is a fence. Before they see the game, there is a fence. And all of these three people are standing on the same size of benches. And this first picture shows us that every of the individuals receiving the same type of support or the same measurement of support. And it's also written in the text that it's in the first image. It is assumed that everyone will benefit from the same support. They are being treated equally. And on the second picture, we see the same different sizes of people with the fence and the soccer game, but the sizes of the benches are different now. So the taller person, the most tallest person doesn't have a bench. The second tallest person have one size bench, and the smallest person have two size of bench. And it's also written under the picture that it's the second image. Individuals are given different supports to make it possible for them to have equal access to the game. They are being treated equitably. And on the third picture, we see that what is like a completely changed scenario in case of the fence, which is an interesting point here. We would like to also take on this discussion on this change, on this big change, is that the different size of the people are standing. There is no benches anymore. And actually the fence changed to kind of like, like a glass wall, or like, it's like not a glass wall, but something that you can see through. So it means that what is different from the third picture is that we are not looking at the benches anymore, but we are looking at what changed in the fence. And it also says under the picture that in the third image, all three can see the game without any support or accommodations, because the cause of inequality was addressed and the systematic barrier has been removed. And we will further explain to you this picture with our activities and with our theoretical backgrounds. But now I give the floor to Kata with a little bit of exercise. And I think so I will open this, and just information. I try to, or if Kata, you can, I'm
gonna plop the link into the chat.
Yeah. I will try to pop the link into the, let me see. Okay.
No, I just did that, no worries.
Oh, cool. Then I'm narrating this, so I will what I shared, let me see. I share also my screen, or you can share your screen, maybe it's better.
I can do that too, sure.
Cool.
So what we're about to do before we launch into specifics in terms of how to carry out inclusive design in pedagogy and specific courses is we'd like to invite you to a kind of a visualization and immersion experience. I hope at least many of you are practicing higher education teachers. Otherwise, this will be weird, but just bear with us. So if you click on the Jamboard link, it should navigate you to a Jamboard, which is a platform that allows us to work together. And let me also share my screen with you. So you should be seeing something like this, and we'll be on many of you are already here. You are experts at this, but just for those of us who might be seeing this platform for the first time, the tools you can use are on the left side here, and it's enough if you just will click on the fourth icon from the top and add your own sticky notes. And so in the first round, I will ask you to imagine that you are a student in a large introductory statistics course, and this is your first year. And we will think about three different students here. One who has a visual impairment, another who is a student of lower socioeconomic background, and the third who is the first to go to college from their wider family. So the question will be, in each of these perspectives, what are the barriers that hinder your full and effective access and participation? And you may think about anything that relates to the college experience. So class participation, materials, communication, assessment, even things like getting to and from class, anything that that relates to taking part in this large introductory statistics course. So you're welcome to add your own sticky notes. Just click on the fourth icon and type in your answer, and then drag it to the appropriate corner. I'll give you like 2 minutes to do this because we have another round and I want to be respectful with time.
And
so think about what the barriers are. Go ahead.
In the meantime, I just want to invite everyone to be accessible, to put in the chat if it's something you want to do as well.
That's a great one. Yes, for first generation students, it is a big deal that they don't grow up hearing their parents' stories about how one participates in college life and what that means. Lack of modeling, yes. That's a great one. lack of equipment assisting learning, and that you meant for that to be so this one's under the student of lower socioeconomic status. So are we talking like textbooks and things like that with the equipment? Tools and books. Well, I love the one in the second column, that this one, concepts and vocab, absolutely. And so that can significantly hinder participation, especially in the first year. Need for working, yes, absolutely. That's a great example. Actually, at my institution, almost 70% of students work either part or full-time. So it is a big deal to rearrange education to suit that enormous percentage. Okay, and here we have a need for Braille or of some other assistive tool. Visuals are very difficult to see, slides, maps, whatever else. Difficult to use books, yes. Like a possibility of having visuals to understand the formatting and organization of numbers, absolutely. Okay, and then there's one more here that I haven't. I'm anxious about my computer skills and typing speed. Do not have a computer at home. Excellent. Yes, very good. Motivation. I see. So a view, kind of a emotional difficulties. Yes, actually, that's widely documented with first generation students, that they often have a hard time feeling like they are part of the community and coping with the social pressure and fitting in. Lack of parental support. These are amazing. You folks are clearly in the know about about these barriers. And so I'd like you to flip over to the next slide, in which we will take these suggestions and now look at the other perspective. So instead of the student in this large introductory statistics course, now we're going to imagine that we are the instructors with the same students in our class. But now the question is, what is one thing you can do for the student to help remove the barrier that hinders their participation? Breaking down the information to make it more accessible. And look at that. That would probably help everyone in the class, not just the first generation students, right? This is the beauty in inclusive design, that usually the tools that we apply to help a particular group are just as helpful for everyone else as well. Peer mentoring, that's also great because it works for so many students with different needs. Not necessarily just these two examples, but many more. Provide them with the appropriate materials, of course, yes. So accessible or text reader. Any other suggestions? What else can we do to remove those barriers? Be mindful of assignment loads. Or perhaps offer options. So make the assignment structure flexible, meet them where they are. I love that suggestion. And yeah, so that could mean a lot of things in practice, things like doing a pre-course assessment about where they are and what their prior knowledge is, and then adjusting the curriculum to that. Giving advice about available scholarships, such as on the syllabus or taking part of a class to disseminate that information, help them with a job at the faculty or in research. I see. Yes. I remember back at the US, there was a work study program that specifically targeted low-income students and offered available university positions to them first before everyone else. So that is definitely a system that's been invented. Student colleges for advanced studies, both community and academic work. Yes, or special interest groups. I've also seen many of those examples, so that works too. Wonderful. Okay, I really appreciate these suggestions, and we have foreshadowed the idea of these measures actually doing more for our collective student body than just helping these particular singular students. And so I'll turn it back over to Ágnes to put a much nicer theoretical framework around it, so we can bring the idea of inclusive design home.
Thank you, Kata. Can you stop sharing so I can start resharing?
There you go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me know if you still see my paper. Okay, let me see. Okay, now we were here. And now we are coming to the part of inclusive teaching and learning environment. And I would like to reflect on the activity and also the picture I was explaining. So there is two approaches, which is, according to the picture 3, but we were talking about the second and the third element, where there was being treated equitably, and then the third one was removing systematic barriers. And being treated equitably is kind of a retrospective approach, because it's adjusting the system or the higher education environment afterwards to the individual's needs. And you can also see historically, when new groups entered higher education, it was kind of the case. The most important thing when we look at the design of the architecture, like steps or like a lot of things that are creating barriers. So the system was managed afterwards, and I brought also a quote from my dissertation, that this approach might be effective, but doesn't question the systematic barriers, and it solves individually the circumstances and the barriers. The inclusive approach, which was looking at the picture when we remove the fence, it is really looks the diversity from the beginning of the design, and also diversity as a default. And the principle of inclusive education seems removing barriers. And I also learned from Mr. David Rose, who is a US person from regarding universal design for learning. And he said that asking the question, what is the disability of the curriculum design? What is the disability, rather than focusing on the individuals? So we wanted to bring to you, and we are aware that in northern US or like Anglo-Saxon countries, the universal design approach is quite embedded. But in Europe, we are still learning about that. And I'm very happy to be one of the colleagues who are bringing a universal design approach to Hungary and to Central Eastern Europe. What we also learned, and this is the next element here, is the antechamber of the future. We were thinking with Kata of a visual that we brought, like a futuristic picture with a kind of blue area, blue colors, and with a huge space, and then in the back there is like the light for the future. And I would like to highlight that we, because of historical and all kinds of aspects in the Hungarian higher education and also in Central Eastern Europe, we cannot immediately jump into universal design approaches. So we need to take the first step, and first of all, to use what we have at the moment and cook what we have. So at the moment, we are specifically on the second picture phase, which is equitable support. And it is important to understand that now a lot of students are supported by individual support, and there is a huge role of equality officers, disability support officers, and also academics and experts who are working in the teaching and learning centers, etc., etc. So we need to do a gradual and a small coordination towards universal design, and we need to understand our historical things, that it doesn't happen overnight that we jump into universal design. And there is a lot of professional development needed for academic staff, that it's getting embedded in the professional development. So it's not like inclusion and diversity is not like a side dish, but it's embedded and mainstreamed for all kinds of activities, and also not only the teaching and learning environment, but from governance to policy decisions, etc., etc. And we brought you some new ideas, mostly from Europe. And what is interesting now in Europe nowadays is that there is a new initiative at the European Commission level, which is the so-called European University Initiative. And I'm delighted to highlight that the University of Pécs is one of the alliances, and Eötvös Lóránd University is one of the other alliances who are now selected in this new initiative. And CHARM EU stands for Challenge-Driven Accessible Research-Based Mobile European University. And now we have the pilot phase to create something new, something innovative, with 5 universities in the consortium. And it's not only like an Erasmus Mundus or like issuing a joint degree, but like from governance, from really bottom up and top down, changing the whole system. And now I'm very delighted to explain or express that we have a work package on inclusiveness. I am the coordinator of this wonderful group. And now we are piloting and testing all the universal design approaches. Now we have the space to design something new. Of course, not the existing buildings. We cannot change the stairs and the things, but whatever the teaching and learning environment, the virtual and hybrid classroom experiences, the governance, the representation, the communication, etc. And additionally, we brought to you, as it was highlighted in the abstract, that we bring to you one already existing and currently running program, which you can also take a look. It is the Inclusive Curriculum Project by the Trinity College Dublin. They are also forefront runners in inclusive curriculum, and they are one of the alliance or one of the members of the CHARM EU. And we brought to you this because since now we are piloting in CHARM EU, but if you would like to see a more established way of working, you can always look at Trinity's experiences. And then thank you so much, and you can read the resources later on, and thank you for the flexibility and time from the next presenter. So I will stop sharing.